What happens after we die? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel, or is it just darkness and silence? These are questions that have been asked for thousands of years. Different cultures and religions have different answers. One of the most detailed and mysterious explanations comes from an ancient Tibetan Buddhist text known as the Bardo Thodol. In the West, it's often called the Tibetan Book of the Dead. This book is not just a religious scripture. It is a guide meant to help the soul navigate the journey after death. It was written not for the living, but for the dying and the dead. Still, its teachings are deeply valuable for anyone who wants to understand life and what may come after it. The Bardo Thodol was written based on the teachings of a spiritual master named Padmasambhava. He lived in the 8th century and is considered one of the founders of Tibetan Buddhism. He was not just a teacher, but also a mystic who claimed to understand the hidden aspects of reality. He believed that even after death, a person has a chance to reach a state of total freedom, called enlightenment. To help people through this process, he passed down teachings that were eventually written into the Bardo Thodol. The word Bardo means a transition or in-between state. The book describes several bardos or stages that the soul goes through after death. These stages are not physical places, but mental and spiritual experiences. There are 3 main bardos described in the book that happen after death. The first is the bardo of the moment of death. The second is the bardo of visions. The third is the bardo of rebirth. Each stage presents the soul with choices, tests, and opportunities. If the soul is prepared and aware, it can use these moments to achieve liberation. If not, it may become confused and fall into fear, which leads to rebirth, and the cycle begins again. The first stage is called the bardo of the moment of death. This stage begins right after a person dies. The physical body has stopped working, but the mind or soul is still active. At this moment, the soul experiences what is known as the clear light. This light is not just bright in a physical sense, it represents pure awareness. It is the true nature of the mind. It is peaceful, open, and beyond all fear and confusion. For someone who has trained their mind in meditation or spiritual practice, this is a moment of great opportunity. If they can recognize the clear light as their own true nature, they can become free from the cycle of birth and death right then and there. They can reach enlightenment instantly. But for most people, this light is overwhelming. They do not recognize it. Their ego or sense of individual self is still strong. The ego feels threatened by the light and turns away from it. The opportunity for liberation is lost, and the soul moves into the next bardo. The second stage is called the bardo of visions. In this stage, the soul is no longer in a physical world. It experiences visions that are created by its own mind. These visions are not random. They reflect the soul's past actions, emotions, fears, and desires. The mind is now very powerful, and every thought or feeling can create an entire experience. In this stage, the soul sees peaceful beings like beautiful figures or divine presences. These are called peaceful deities. They represent the good qualities that the soul developed during life. Things like love, kindness, and wisdom. If the soul recognizes them, it can follow them and become free. But again, this is difficult. Even peaceful visions can be overwhelming if the mind is not calm. The soul may not recognize them and may feel fear or confusion. If the soul does not follow the peaceful deities, the visions change. Now it sees wrathful beings, dark, terrifying, and violent forms. These are not evil spirits or demons. They are expressions of the soul's own anger, hatred, fear, and other painful emotions. In life, we often suppress or ignore these feelings, but in this stage, there is nowhere to hide. All the things the soul has not faced come forward in strong and frightening ways. These wrathful deities can scare the soul deeply. But if the soul realizes that these are just creations of its own mind, they lose their power. The soul can wake up from the illusion and find peace. Again, this is hard to do without training or preparation. Most souls are too confused or afraid, and they do not recognize the truth. So they move on to the third bardo. The third stage is called the bardo of rebirth. This is the final part of the journey. The soul is no longer seeing visions, it now begins to feel a pull toward a new life. This pull is created by karma. Karma is the energy created by our actions, thoughts, and intentions during life. Everything we do leaves an imprint on the mind. These imprints shape what kind of rebirth the soul will have. The soul may feel drawn to certain images or experiences that represent a new body. For example, it may see couples and feel desire. This desire pulls the soul toward rebirth. The soul does not choose its next life with full awareness. It is more like being carried by a current. If the soul is still full of desire, fear, or attachment, it is pulled back into another body. Where it ends up depends on the kind of karma it has. A person who lived with anger and greed may be reborn into a life that reflects those qualities. A person who lived with love and patience may have a more peaceful rebirth. But even at this stage, there is one last chance for liberation. If the soul can let go of all desire and remain aware, it may avoid rebirth and merge into the clear light. This is the ultimate goal in Tibetan Buddhism, to escape the cycle of rebirth and achieve freedom. So what does all of this mean for people who are still alive? The teachings of the Bardo Thodol are not just for the dead. They are meant to guide the living as well. The Bardos are not only after death, they can also be found in everyday life. Whenever we go through a big change, like losing a job, ending a relationship, or facing a serious illness, we enter a kind of bardo. These are times when we are between one state and another. During these times, our usual habits and routines are broken. This creates a chance to wake up, to see things more clearly. One of the main messages of the Tibetan Book of the Dead is that awareness is the key. If we can stay present and calm, even in difficult situations, we can see through the illusions that cause suffering. We can recognize the nature of our mind and find peace. But this takes practice. It means learning to let go of attachments. It means facing our fears instead of running from them. It means being honest with ourselves and living in a way that creates positive karma. The book also teaches that love and compassion are essential. The more we care for others, the more open and free our minds become. Kindness is not just a moral value, it is a way to shape our consciousness. A kind person creates a peaceful inner world. That inner world will reflect in the experiences they have, both in life and in the bardos. Meditation is another important practice. When we meditate, we train the mind to be still and clear. We learn to watch our thoughts without getting caught in them. This helps us recognize the true nature of the mind, which is like the clear light described in the first bardo. With regular meditation, we become more prepared for whatever comes, whether in life or after death. Thinking about death can be scary, but the Tibetan Book of the Dead suggests that it doesn't have to be. If we understand the process and prepare for it, death becomes just another step in the journey. It becomes an opportunity, not an end. The soul is not lost or punished. It is given chances again and again to wake up, to see clearly, and to become free. This book is full of symbols and ancient language, but its message is simple. You are not just a body, you are a mind, a soul, a being of awareness. When the body dies, your journey continues. What happens next depends on the state of your mind. If your mind is peaceful and aware, you can find freedom. If it is confused and full of fear, you may return to life and try again. No matter where you are on your journey, you can start preparing now. You can practice awareness. You can live with love. You can face your fears. You can let go of what no longer helps you. These choices shape your future, both in this life and beyond it. In the end, the Tibetan Book of the Dead is not a book about fear. It is a book about hope. It says that liberation is always possible. Even in the darkest moments, there is a light. That light is not somewhere outside. It is inside you. It is your true nature. And when you recognize it, you are free. Thank you for reading and walking this journey. We are all travelers on the same path. By understanding ourselves and helping each other, we can move toward a brighter and more peaceful future.